Being a professor in the age of AI, particularly generative AI, is both exciting and deeply challenging. As educators, we recognize that technology is evolving at a pace with which even seasoned technologists struggle to keep up. Students are increasingly tempted to let AI do the thinking for them, believing they're being efficient when in fact they may be shortcutting the deeper learning process. I actually encourage my students to use AI, but use it in a very smart way, which we're going to learn about today. Actually, it was kind of interesting. Using AI tools like ChatGPT should not be about replacing critical thought or original research. It's about enhancing the learning journey, not skipping it. While these tools can assist in discovery, ideation, and even structure, they cannot substitute the human insights that come from struggle, context, collaboration, and lived experience. That's why I challenge my students to think critically. What happens when the sources AI provides don't match course materials or match what AI has in fact written for them? What if AI misses the nuances, the legal precedents, or the emerging ethics in a topic? The danger is not just in misinformation, it's in the erosion of personal accountability and intellectual depth. This exact tension between innovation and integrity is what makes events like TechTainment so necessary. Welcome to Small and Gutsy, the podcast spotlighting nonprofits and social enterprises with budgets under $10 million. My name is Dr. Laura Shirk-Witkoff, and I'm excited to be your host. We bring you the less told stories of organizations that are bold, passionate, and making real impact. Perhaps you'll find needed services, a job, volunteer, invest in, or donate. Small and Gutsy is more than a podcast. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We've recently been ranked number 8 on FeedSpot's top 30 social impact podcasts and number 9 by Million Podcasts for our youth empowerment episodes. We're proud of these honors, but in fact prouder still of our mission to elevate the visibility of small but mighty change makers. Do you know a nonprofit or social enterprise doing incredible work? Send them our way to laura@smallandgutsy.org. I want to just say a huge thank you to Trope & Trope Law Group, the law firm protecting your assets worldwide, for generously sponsoring this episode. They're helping us, Small and Gutsy, secure our registered trademark, and their professionalism and attention to detail have been unmatched. Thank you, Trope & Trope, for supporting Small and Gutsy. The intersection of technology, entertainment, and the law is a rapidly evolving space filled with complex and often controversial issues. There are a multitude of issues at the intersection of these areas, and I'm going to try to only name a few because there are so many. But my guest today has knowledge and depth that will convince you to not miss the upcoming one-day TechTainment event. So here goes. Intellectual property, so IP challenges, things like piracy and copyright infringement. AI-generated content, who owns it, the legal ownership of that in terms of art, music, video, etc. Remixes, memes, and fair use. Social media culture thrives on remixing existing works, but where are the boundaries in fair use? AI and deep fakes. I think we've all been subject to plenty of deep fakes, so fake celebrity content. If you're on Instagram at all, which has become a sales tool, frankly, you see every celebrity, and sometimes they're not real in what the product says that they are and that they're using. It's a little bit crazy making. Consent and image rights, use of a person's likeness, voice, or performance without their consent. Legal lag, I really like this one because I don't think we recognize the rapid growth of advancements in generative AI and deepfake technologies, and it often outpaces existing laws and creating enforcement gaps and legislative uncertainty. Streaming and distribution rights, so global licensing issues, residuals and fair pay, windowing conflicts like how long studios and platforms, they debate how long they should remain exclusive, platform liability, so content moderation and censorship, freedom of speech versus harmful content, so the legal systems struggle to balance that, government regulations, laws different by region, data collection, what is that in terms of infringement on our privacy when Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and others gather information, facial recognition and biometrics. In fact, I'm not even embarrassed to say I bought an Aura ring and I use it and I love it, and yet I'm allowing them to infringe on my personal space, my exercise, my sleep, so on and so forth. Children's privacy, which I think is huge. Platforms aimed at children must comply with strict regulations. Let's see, there are so many more. I know I'm missing so many of these. Content ownership in the creator economy. So platform versus creator control, copyright takedowns and abuse, fraud and scams, which I referred to a tiny bit, copyright confusion. And then there are emerging legal areas to watch, like the generative AI law, so ongoing litigation, virtual reality, augmented reality laws, content moderation laws, digital labor rights. I mean, there's just so many, smart contracts and blockchain. So the primary issues revolve around intellectual property rights, data privacy, platform regulation, AI ethics, and compensation for creative labor. As technology outpaces regulation, legal systems are constantly playing catch up, often with high stakes consequences for creators, companies, and consumers. That's why I'm so grateful to my guest today. Founded 11 years ago by Mark Treitel, TechTainment is an annual one-day conference at the cutting edge of technology, entertainment, and law. Now, as I said before, in its 11th year and growing, the 2025 conference will feature two tracks, one focusing on entertainment and the other on technology, each exploring the massive shifts reshaping their industries. Mark Treitel, counsel at Quinn Emanuel and a seasoned IP litigator, has spent decades navigating the intellectual property issues central to tech and entertainment. His creation of TechTainment reflects a commitment to not only track trends, but to actually anticipate them, and more importantly, to shape the legal and ethical frameworks that must evolve alongside the tools. This year's panels tackle topics such as new technologies disrupting traditional models of creativity, the future of film finance in the era of AI, privacy pressures from data laws hitting Hollywood and big tech, name, image, and likeness deals in college sports, fake news versus inconvenience, truth in journalism and entertainment. I'm going to attend that one. And even a boot camp for IP startups from prototype to protection. Mark's vision, built in collaboration with organizations like the Los Angeles Intellectual Property Law Association, isn't just about law or entertainment. It's truly about thought leadership and responsible innovation. It's about ensuring that human value, ethical reasoning, creative spark, legal foresight isn't lost in the digital noise. Our country is at a crossroads, and events like TechTainment are more than just conferences. They are forums for the future. As educators, professionals, and creators, our job is not to reject AI, but to ensure we don't outsource our judgment, our integrity, or our creativity. Let AI and other innovative technologies be tools, but let us be the ones who drive its purpose. I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Mark Treitel, creator of TechTainment and current co-chair of TechTainment 25. And you can see it behind on video, because we're going to post some video on this. Mark, please share your passion for this confluence of entertainment, technology, and law. You've really done an amazing amount of work. And I really want to hear sort of the beginnings, a bit of the beginnings, then we'll go into current.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for the introduction. It was phenomenal. And I think we have a speaker for next year's TechTainment, because your passion is already shown, and we would definitely use your insight. So there are many legal conferences in Los Angeles and throughout the nation. Technology has always been a passion. I was always someone, as a kid, I would read Omni magazine. So I've always, and science fiction, I always be passionate about the new technologies. Obviously, in Los Angeles, there's a large entertainment machine here. And
For sure.
there's so many different attorneys, and the business of Los Angeles is definitely built on entertainment. And so I envisioned we needed something to combine those, the technology and entertainment. And in fact, I couldn't obviously predict ChatGPT 11 years ago or
Right.
AI in that
Right.
way. We've been talking about AI for a long time.
Mhm.
But what you really see is the confluence of these two streams of entertainment and technology, right? What you had, and especially this is illustrated with social media. Social media is based on technology, but it becomes the entertainment, right?
Yeah.
My children well, my daughter at least, spends more time on that technology than she does on traditional entertainment that myself and yourself and other people have viewed. And so what we have is we have the entertainment companies that are utilizing these technology companies that are creating the entertainment. I mean, think about Apple computers already existed, but they changed the entire entertainment industry. Think about
Absolutely.
all the major changes. I mean, there's huge changes from the fact of like when I envisioned this and to see where we are. And there's obviously larger changes for the future. But think about how we even watched entertainment, right? So we started on something where you had traditional media, then it went to cable. Now everything is on streaming.
Right.
I expect that most of the listens on your podcast likely don't even have any more DVDs, right? You don't, just even the way we watch, the way we consume media, everything is intersected with technology. And now you definitively see every single company basically say, how do we use AI and how do we do it smartly? And those are some of the topics that we will discover.
Right. And yours is how do we do it legally?
Right.
Because there are you've got to speak to this, Mark, because I don't see it. And I love the beginning of what you thought of, your own personal interest, where this was driven to. And it's not going away. I had my first class 2 weeks ago at USC. And the first thing I said is, I expect you to use AI. Here's the downfall. And I talked about plagiarism. I talked to them about citing sources appropriately and how do you actually go back to that source that comes from AI? Where's it really from? Where are you doing the research first? So I'd love for you to speak to, whether you want to talk specifically about the conference and the tracks and maybe both of these things and the holes that people fall into, maybe even unknowingly. It's not necessarily malicious.
Right. Well, the first thing I want to say is besides co-chairing, I've actually moderated some panels. And there's a panel I had done a few years ago I think you'd also find interesting. I read it like 5-6 years ago. But it was about electronics overload. And again, it was the beginning of social media. And so I think AI is a similar part. I'm sure you may have read that young teenagers are now doing chats with AI bots.
Yes.
And so basically everything you ever read in any 80s, 90s, all the sci-fi movies, they are all coming true. What we really need to do, and this comes from leadership from companies, is to understand how these technologies are affecting people. I think it's really the question that was asked in the wonderful movie Jurassic Park by Jeff Goldblum is like, do they ever ask why they're building technologies? Because the movers and shakers are basically getting things out there, right? There's so much competition. We saw that with the social media. We saw that with the streaming wars, right?
Yeah.
We are definitely seeing that with AI. And you could look back to the beginning of the tech boom and tech fall in 2000. You look at those companies, those large companies, very few are around. So even the big gorillas, so for example, Google, we do not know how AI is going to change it. We're starting to see that. We do not know where things are going. So what is really important is, especially for companies, and that's why they hire lawyers, is to understand where those technologies are going. Again, what are their liabilities? So one of the things we are doing is, this is actually the first year, we've been doing this again for 11 years. And we've grown from a really small, just let's get it off the ground. Every year we grow it. I've had kind of a passion and a larger vision. And I still have a larger vision, maybe a 10, 20-year plan. But as a nonprofit, we're limited with the resources and we continue to grow. So this is the second year. So we work with LAIPLA, Los Angeles Intellectual Property Law Association. That's what we've been doing for 11 years. And for the past 2 years, we've been working with Sandra Day O'Connor ASU Law School.
Great.
They have a building downtown in Los Angeles. And it's a wonderful, beautiful building, and we've been working with them. So our idea for this year, as you stated, we're going to do 2 different tracks because there are so many attorneys in LA, and some are very focused on technology, and some are very focused on entertainment. And what we want to do is get them all in a room together.
Yeah, it's great.
One of the things that's really important is building this TechTainment community. I've started doing that, and it's really important. We have attendees that come back year after year. We have speakers that come back year after year, and that's super important. So we have a lot of the entertainment. You've touched upon, we're doing some sports, we're doing film finance, In our past, we have done issues about video games
Love it.
with NFTs. We've done a lot of social media. We did a bunch of AI last year. And again, there's many, many conferences that do AI. So we want to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And with technology, it's just really important with regards to technology within privacy.
Right.
And there are so many different vendors that have, how do you use this technology? So we have some experts coming in to tell attorneys, here's the best systems that you could use so you understand it, because we are all inundated, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
I think,
So
right,
true.
Right, right. We all have our phones off right now, but otherwise we'd be getting 1,000 texts from WhatsApp and mail and everything
So
would
true.
work.
I have a quick question just in reference to something you said that I think is so important. It's really about your vision, which I think is great. You're really trying to bring this community together to solve issues that come up because it's so rapidly changing. And so outside of the one-day conference, are you hoping at some point to build a network, a community where people can check in with each other or people can make referrals or something?
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
The amount of time it takes to plan this, obviously I have my actual,
Your real
legal
job.
work, right. But I do take a little bit of time off. But I worked with my co-chairs, and I do want to mention them, Conrad Trope and Nadine Nasser. I worked for the last 2 years, and I've worked with people from ASU, Professor Sylvester, Professor Franklin, and we've been all working together, and we have a vision. And again, my co-chairs and I, we have WhatsApps, and we're basically like last December, we're saying, how about this idea? How about this idea? Every day there's something new. I would love to have this. I have a email chain with all the past attendees, and I kind of send them information. That would be fantastic. And utilizing those technologies, right?
Right.
That's what I found, is that it's actually a lot easier to get disparate groups into a container where they all could communicate. As an aside, I'm very much into board gaming, and Discord is a fantastic resource for that, because you could have the smallest niche, and then you're all just talking about it, and you could talk about it for hours. So I would love to have that. That would be, you know what, I'm going to break that down and say, how can we do this?
I love that idea. Well, Discord is a tool that you can use. There are probably other platforms, but I really love it for those people who don't know what it is. And so it really is like an affinity group. It really works that way. And so I love, it would be great to have something so organized that it becomes a network where there can be referral or questions asked, or I've got this situation, don't know, from both entertainment and technology and law. So those three areas coming together in that group, not just lawyers. I love that idea. I love it.
And additionally, one of the things I feel very passionate about, having to gone to many, many legal conferences, which are not very exciting, is it's super important for our conference to have time that we can connect with the speakers and other networking. That is so important.
I agree.
It is so super important. So we make sure in our conference that we leave time for that.
Great.
And additionally, it's super important to feed the attendees, right? So we have a wonderful lunch plan. We have a great reception. I think the social aspect is super important, right?
It is. There's no question. Yeah.
We've gone through the COVID thing, and everyone was doing it. And we want to interact. I would love to be in the room with you right now, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the benefit, honestly, of AI and of internet, and frankly, if there's a silver lining of COVID, is we started to do things more virtually and people became more and more comfortable. Everything from teaching, I prefer to teach in person, but I also respect the fact that when people are all over, that this is sort of one mechanism, or you and I are different parts of LA, so it made this very possible. So I get all that. I actually just went to my very first podcast conference, and the networking piece of that, as much as the individual sessions were really important and I learned a lot, the networking piece was, I would say, as important, if not more. And I love the idea, because you're not just getting lawyers in the room, you're getting entertainment folks, creators, and lawyers, and the people who really have the platforms of some technology. It would be great, and so therefore it's a mechanism for building out this network where you can be, as much as you possibly can, proactive in what's coming down the pike.
And again, this is our first year, because we expanded to have 2 tracks.
Yeah.
We have over 40 speakers, right?
Love it.
Many conferences, you have a few speakers, but we're going to have the opportunity for our attendees to speak to them. And I see that every year, right?
Yeah.
I see the speakers come and then they're speaking to other attendees. They're speaking to law students. Law students are coming and
It's
we get some
great.
ASU law students. And it's phenomenal because, again, this is what you're saying. We are building something. Now, again, you're getting the MCLE credit. That's something that other people definitely want, and attorneys are required to have that. But it's really more, right? Everything is Paramount Plus, Apple TV. This is TechTainment Plus.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I like that. I think that has to be your next trademark. TechTainment Plus, and it can be people signing on to whatever platform you create that brings all of these together, this group together. Okay, sorry to give you another job,
Oh,
but that could
it's
be
fine.
you get a group together and do that, because I do think the aftermath to conferences sometimes falls flat unless you individually do your follow-up. And so therefore, if you create that Discord or create that sort of segmented platform for people who have attended or people who want to learn about it and can see your past videos or see your past content,
Right.
it would be really valuable. I think it would be valuable for anyone who's first learning about the information or somebody who's seeking out either attorneys or creators or even platforms to figure out an idea that they have. So I could see many uses for that networking.
Right. And again, the panelists that we have are all top notch from working from the top companies.
Right.
And we've also had in past years authors. I mean, because we have the whole
Yeah.
entertainment spectrum.
It's great.
And I wanted that to continue.
Yeah, it was really a wonderful, wonderful idea. And it's kind of hard to believe that 11 years ago you came up with this idea and how much truly has changed in
Right.
a relatively short period of time.
Exponentially, right.
Exponentially. When I got my doctorate, which wasn't that long ago in 2018, I started doing messaging before COVID and had some clients and working on messaging for smaller nonprofits. And the only reason I started my podcast was because there wasn't a glut in the market at the time. And then with the writer's strike and with COVID, everything sort of shut down. And really podcasting was more of the democratic way to approach an industry that was really more celebrity driven initially,
Right.
or, historic.
I think it's almost 3-4 years ago, we did a panel on podcasting, right?
Yeah, I love
we
that.
saw that. We did NFTs. We've done trying to look for the future. We had a panelist that the day of when Facebook became Meta, we had one of the ones that were there. So,
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Right. So we're always
Yeah.
constantly looking and trying to get the newer technologies and reach
Yeah,
out.
it's
And
great.
it's changing so quickly. I mean, there
Yeah.
were some ideas, we still have to plan this months ahead. So,
for sure.
right, like I could look today and there'll be 10 more panelists.
Yeah, it's great. So I would love for you to reflect a little bit on the past 11 years. And if you can pick out a highlight, I mean, you mentioned a couple, sort of the podcast one, or something that really stands out. That's one of my questions on what comes to mind when you think about the past years, what stood out, whether it was a presenter or a student who then ended up getting into the industry as a result, or some kind of aha moment that maybe you hadn't even fully anticipated until you witnessed it.
Right. Well, so for example, there are different topics that I didn't have an understanding that I was learning because I'm going to these events and obviously within my cases, you learn about new technologies. That's what's amazing again about if anyone is passionate about learning new technologies, become an IP lawyer because you have to learn the technology,
Yeah.
right? You have to learn the new technology, how they do it.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic, or how the business runs.
Of course, yeah.
So I recall, right, doing esports. And when we were pitching it, I'm like, what is esports? And this is many years ago, many years ago. And then we had all these panelists and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like $100 million industry, even more. All these companies are doing that. The same thing we had last year with regards to name and likeness with sports, and we have a sports one this year. There's all these new changes in that technology. With NFTs, this is, again, many years ago, right? We didn't do the ape thing, but right, we're understanding that. We did virtual reality. I mean, we don't have this. I would love to have robotics next year. I'd love to have one of these humanoid things.
Yeah.
That would be great. We even pitched about, we were saying a few years ago, like we just would have an AI speaker. We haven't had that yet.
Interesting.
But we had actually one which was about deep fakes. Again, deep fakes have changed. We did one, I think it's 2 years ago, and it was about, we showed a video and said, is this real or
Real
not?
or not.
And
I
we
love
couldn't figure it out. And you see though, and actually we've had even prior to that, we talked about those changes, how politicians will use that and how it'll affect elections. Now that happened in this last election and was continuing happening. So these are super important issues. Again, I had a panel which I had moderated, which was about the overuse of technology. And we had educators, we had people discussing that. I think these issues definitely come up. Now, look, again, right, you're going to have a company that's going to push the use of their company.
Right,
but
of
I think there
course.
really does need to balance. And one of the panels we're doing again is with regards to news and journalism and what is truth. And that's super important. And again, we're
agree.
using technology. I would use an example of Twitter, which I think in prior years was the go-to news source
Yes.
of many people. And then it has evolved, which is their prerogative. And then how do we then get news, right? Even someone like I was a passionate daily news reader on the newspaper, but how do we get news, right? And how do we share news? And everything is just super fast. And then is it entertainment, right? The blurring of those lines. You also are asking about other things that motivated me. I had the opportunity to moderate a panel with the creator of the Amazon show Goliath, and that was phenomenal. And then my personal one was I'm a big comic book reader. Ed Brubaker is one of my favorite comic book writers.
It's great.
He was there, and that was
That's
like
great.
phenomenal. So like, how do you get to meet, your
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 hero.
idols, right?
Right. And I love that. That's so sweet,
Right. And
actually.
that's the best thing about when you're co-chairing. You can actually get the people you want to get.
Right.
But I think it's really important. I mean, we have a phenomenal committee. We are listening to many people because, again, our group has grown and grown and grown.
Yeah.
And we are offering a large track, many panels that will appeal to many people.
For sure. I mean, I'm
right.
excited I love the journalism one because it's so
Right.
interesting. And I teach a social policy class, so it's sort of in line with a piece of what I do anyway. And there's so many more.
Right. And then we've also had,
I love this. Are you kidding? It's great. I love that you turned into a 10-year-old with the comics. No, I'm kidding.
No, it was great.
It's
I mean,
great.
right.
It's exactly what it should be,
Exactly. This year we have our keynote with Disney's Joe Conmey, who's a senior VP of visual effects.
Yeah.
So we've had like really important people that are coming. We want to bring people in.
Right. Yeah, of course. But it's also meaningful for them because they're expressing both their expertise and they're also sharing, I imagine, some of their concerns or some things that come up for them. And so in a way, you're bridging that gap where people think it's all entertainment or it's all where there's value to that and there's value to ethics and integrity and creative genius that you want to support and all of those things. So sort of drives my next question, which is, I'm sorry to ask this, but in your industry and what you do by bringing this all together, I imagine you face a lot of bad actors. I imagine you face where someone has created something and someone is taking the likeness or something is fake. And I wonder, I know TechTainment goes to, how can you mitigate this or how can you be aware of it?
Right.
And so I just wonder personally, how do you think about that? Because it's a challenge for your regular person. I'm on Instagram and I'm thinking this is an ad and they're putting faces of celebrities there who have never used this product in their life. And you kind of figure that out because now you're learning, but it's a challenge because you get sucked into that. Or you'll be reading a New York Times or Wall Street Journal article and something pops up and it's an ad, but it says it in such fine print. You think it's put on there as if it's an article.
Right.
It's really tricky. I don't like it, but I've gotten used to sort of being a little detective myself. But so talk about that a little bit.
Well, the first thing would be is that if you have legal issues, you should hire my firm, Quinn Emanuel.
Okay,
Get that out of the way.
Let's get that out of the way.
Get out of
Free
the way. But
advertising. Good. You deserve that. You're a volunteer for TechTainment. Okay.
Right. Otherwise, though, no. I mean, again, lawyers, right? Lawyers, we're red flag waivers. You look at everything and you're saying, what can go wrong, right? We are built to be cautious. So you are going to see all these new issues.
Yeah.
So again, it would be something, if you are a creator, you should speak to an attorney, right? If you're created something, you want to make sure you are protected. That's super important.
Right.
But these are new issues, and these are issues that are being litigated by the courts and continue to be, and they constantly change. You know, we had with AI the recent settlement, and that was a settlement, so it wasn't a legal case.
Right.
But how these companies are going to change. We're talking, again, AI is this large motivator that is, everyone's saying that's billions. And I've actually spoke to just a friend that's in financial, and he's like, what's actually happening is that they had eyes in the sky. I mean, I remember very vividly in 2000s when everything was digital. And in fact, this is a very funny story. I have a friend who basically bought any stock that had the word I in it, and he made money for a while.
Sure, yeah.
So I think AI is that new thing. And, you know, you have to be realistic in what is being provided. Now, again, from the legal part is these are all new issues. And then you have the government is sometimes slower to litigate these, right? We've been talking about it, and we were talking about bringing in, we had people from the Copyright Office, but we're talking about, you know, we want to bring Congress members in because this is super important.
It is.
And these are issues that will affect us. All of these things, the digital rights. I mean, again, you know, what Bitcoin is and all these NFTs, not entertainment, but it affects your legal rights.
Yeah.
And those need to be addressed. Those issues need to be figured out. And it's not clear. It's not clear where things are going to go. And then, you know, some companies, there are cases where companies bet the company because they have a vision, and then it's the courts go the other way.
Yeah. You know, it's so tricky because as a creator, I mean, thank goodness for Casey Trope, Conroy Trope, because he has worked with Small and Gutsy and he's assured our registered trademark. He's been absolutely fabulous. And he has alerted me to certain things. And without that knowledge, I mean, look, I'm a creator. I don't know about, I mean, I can apply for registered trademark. I can certainly do things myself, but I'm not going to have that alertness. And that, I love that you said, we're built to find those red flags.
Having a red flag alert.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
probably, you will probably have a happier life not having red flag alerts.
Of course.
But that's why you have attorneys, right?
Right, exactly. And so I think that not only attending TechTainment gives you knowledge of sort of what is and what could be, but also gives you the tools to think about what you may need to prevent something from happening. So I really want to highlight that. So it's definitely CEUs for lawyers. I don't know what it's called. We have CEUs for social workers. So I have to get mine as well. But you offered that. But I also think for folks who are in the creative field or the entertainment field, you're busy creating. You're not busy thinking about who's going to steal it from you. I mean, you might be now, but that's really the job of you. But if you don't even have the knowledge of how something can be taken or mimicked or faked or utilized, you don't know to even hire someone. So I do think TechTainment is bringing an awareness that previously didn't exist. And I want to highlight something else you said. It's not a boring conference. And
not a boring conference.
And that's a big thing for every person out there who really wants to learn in those three areas. The merging of those is that it really isn't. And the other thing that I really like is it's one day. Eventually, you might have to get to a few days so people can really attend everything. But I love that it's one day and people can at least trigger their curiosity of what they aren't doing and maybe should be doing, or at least thinking about. So I love that.
Right. We do have creators come. I mean, I do have a lot of companies, different people from companies come. When people find out about it, we're trying to get the word out. I appreciate being able to speak about it here.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just getting the word out and growing it. It grows and grows and grows. But again, we don't have the, a lot of it is word of mouth. We're nonprofit.
Like me, right. Marketing is really
hard.
That's why you're on Small and Gutsy. You're small and gutsy right now, But hopefully in the future, you'll be big with huge impact because the industry itself is lucrative. And if it's not done in the best way, it can be very expensive. So approaching it in a way that has integrity and ethics and, for lack of a better word, insurance, or seeing, hiring somebody to see those red flags are all absolutely important for the sustainability of these different areas, these different entertainment platforms, because that really is what's going to keep them alive and not be something that's going to be exploitive or seen as something exploitive, or the whole idea of the fake news versus real. And it is hard to tell sometimes. So that education is huge.
And again, look, even with AI, you can learn about different areas of expertise. But when you're going to a panel, you have the ability to listen to experts that have worked in the field, that are seeing what's out there.
Yeah.
You're talking to these companies, and the companies are going to tell you what's going on and what the future will be.
Yeah.
And you're talking to professors, and these are people that they're teaching the next generation of law students, so they also know all the issues. So I think it's better than, go on Google and AI or ChatGPT. This is, again, plus that. You can go on ChatGPT and learn this, but you really want to be able to go to this conference, experience it, meet other practitioners, learn about ideas that you haven't thought about, learn something new, interact, and be there.
And, I teach social policy, so I think it absolutely impacts sort of the government side of that as well to see. I actually had a group years ago do a whole piece on AI. At that point, it wasn't even getting into generative. It had just started, sort of the next iteration of AI. And it was fascinating to see their concerns. We all welcome this technology, but we all raise eyebrows to say, what about this? What about that? So I think for all students who are in the field of whether it's going to be sort of the government side or the legal side or the entertainment side in terms of creative or even producing, it's really important to attend this conference. I think this event is really key. And the other thing I want to say is, yes, you can use ChatGPT to look up things, but you don't have the interactive piece. You ask a question, they give a response. But in a networking event that has depth and information, you actually make these connections that then can become long-term relationships. And that is built on the nuance I talked about earlier in the introduction. And I didn't mention this word, but trust.
Trust is
huge, right?
Right. And I just was seeing an article this morning about, or a tweet or something, where people are using generative AI to write their resumes, and companies are using generative AI to read their resumes, and no one's being hired.
That's such a great
But the point is, though,
I
I definitely think that in our post-future world, or dystopia, autopia, whatever we're going to be going to, we're going to need the personal connections, right?
For sure.
Like, we're not going to have a world where no one is working, and there's still going to be, and again, these new technologies create new technologies.
Right.
And again, think about with regards to how productive, what we are doing now. This was 11 years ago, wasn't even capable.
Possible.
I remember going somewhere and just seeing that video, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so I can't imagine 11 years what the technologies will be. Hopefully less intrusive.
Yeah, I know. Although we'll all be wearing chips in our bodies. I worry about that.
This is what I want for AI. What I want from AI is just to tell me what I have to do today and take all the disparate parts and just put it in. Because in our technology world, when you email me back, I'm like, did Laura email me? Did she do it on LinkedIn? And you're just thinking, I'm like, I don't know. And it just takes you all this time and bandwidth.
It's a big distraction, quite honestly.
It is a big distraction.
And I think the other big distraction, and you mentioned this earlier, is deciphering whether something is real or not real.
Important.
And it's so, in a way, you can get mired down in the depression around how can someone be such a bad actor? And at the same time, if you recognize it exists and get the tools and support and resources to check it out, have somebody else take a look at it, so on and so forth. Scams happen all the time. Just raising the awareness is key.
I find it the most amazing that we live in the world where we have access to more knowledge than in the entire history of anything.
Yeah.
Yet there's more disinformation, but also people don't use it, right? We have
Right.
access to anything.
Right. You're right about that. Yeah. But I think sometimes they don't know how. Or what I cautioned in the beginning when I cautioned my students is don't take the easy way out. You can use Chat GPT, but go deeper. Really look at the sources, look at the reading material, go do your research first.
And this is something, again, just talking about the changes of technology.
Yeah.
I had been going through all my old files and I am OCRing and scanning and then shredding
Yeah.
them. What I realize is that we have also lost the art of letter writing. Like no one does that because
I know.
So these
I
are things, again,
know.
are they great skills? I don't know. I do think that technology will change things and how, right, like my children, my daughter's a senior and I have an 10th grade, 8th grader, how they will be when they are my age, we do not know. But we want to
Right.
basically create a platform that they could utilize and use their best interest in how to use tech, because new technology will continue to come and there will
Right.
continue to be bad actors, and bad actors will utilize, right? There's also bad actors that are trying to use technology to make money. That's a
Right, of
scam.
course,
But
yeah.
we really need to be super on top of where these technologies are going. Are
Yeah.
they good? Are they bad?
Right.
And call it out. And again,
Right.
there are great companies, and again, like anything else, there are positive parts and negative parts.
Right. You're really guiding, in my opinion, through this conference, a sense of integrity around this, pulling all these pieces together with entertainment, law, and technology.
Right.
And the word that comes to mind is we're going down this path. There's no stopping it. You want to, people can make money, people are creative, all of that good stuff. And how do we do it where we are good actors in this space, we are trustworthy, and we have integrity? And that's what I've gleaned from this conversation. And I'm happy you started this 11 years ago, because without it, people don't know what they don't know. And so you're really helping people understand how to think about those red flags. And it's really a gift. And I'm glad you're a nonprofit, or I couldn't have had you on Small and Gutsy, and that you're small right now.
Small. We're growing.
You're growing.
But we want to say that people can purchase tickets to.
Yes.
You go to just type in the words on Google, TechTainment 2025.
25.
It's actually www.laipla.net/TechTainment, but TechTainment 2025. Google that. Go on there, learn about the conference, and hopefully you can
And get a
attend.
ticket and come.
Get a ticket.
For
Come
sure.
a ticket.
There's enough variety for everybody. That's
Right.
what's so great. But I do have, at the end of my podcast, you probably know this, I have a round of quick and gutsy questions that I ask every guest.
I'm ready for it.
You ready? Okay. What is at the top of your wish list for TechTainment? However, the answer can't be money or funding.
I want to have the facility that we could have over 200 people attend.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I don't have a wish for you, but I'm going to sneak one in anyway.
Okay.
I don't want to give you more work, but I want you to create this nonprofit, which you have, that has a paid executive director and development person over time that uses an existing platform to create a network.
I would love
Because
it.
I think that the after conference piece for you is so valuable because of what you're offering people, that it just isn't a one-stop place for one time. It's an ongoing. So sorry, that's my wish. I'm not allowed to have one, but I had one anyway.
I do want TechTainment to be my legacy, and I've been growing it, and it's amazing when I look back. It's like, oh my gosh, 11 years.
Yeah, it's
and you
great.
just kind of have an idea, but what you have to do for anything is you have to persevere. There have been setbacks in getting this conference off the ground, and
Yeah,
we
for
continue.
sure.
And every time I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, okay, no, I got to do this.
I know I'm doing this right. I sometimes have that with Small and Gutsy, and then I'll have someone out of the blue send me an email or a text saying, I loved that episode. And I'm like, okay, that's a reminder. I got to keep doing this. So I have the same for you, and I'm glad you have. And while we're on that subject, just do a shout out again for your co-chairs, because I know you've had a team. So go ahead and do that now.
So for this is our second year. My co-chairs are Conrad Trope and Nadine Nasser. Conrad Trope of Trope and Trope Law, and Nadine Nasser from NASA Legal. They have been phenomenal people. They've been such a pleasure to work with, and we all complement each other. And I could not have done this without them.
Yeah.
And we have a wonderful, amazing committee. They have been, they are people that, again, bringing people in. And that's the thing. I mean, I have a vision, but your context is limited by your wheel. And so you need other people to bring in.
Of course.
Over the past 11 years, we've had 190 speakers.
Wow.
This is including this year. We have over 60 panels. We have over 900 attendees and over 60 sponsors. And that's just, again, we're just beginning to grow. We've had one speaker that I'll give her a shout out because I think
please.
Tracy Freed from Freed Law. She has come from the very beginning every year. And we just brought her back in and we're so excited.
It's so great. You've built these connections in this network, and that's why I want to see that grow. That's my wish for you, to really build a solid network.
Right. And again, I do want to thank ASU Law.
Yeah,
we could not have done this without them. It is their building. It's an Art Deco building.
It's beautiful.
They are phenomenal. We are happy to work with them. Their students have been amazing. And our organization, LAIPLA, I don't know if we had mentioned, I had started it when I was on as an officer and a director. I was president, and it is a great legal organization for attorneys to go, and they have wonderful events, and you go at laipla.net to get all the information.
That's great. That's a good plug for them.
Right.
They're wonderful. And you don't have to be an attorney, by the way, to join.
You do not, right?
I wanted to say that because I'm a member, so I really appreciated that. Yeah,
appreciate the support.
Well, it's also really nice to network. It's really interesting. I find this area so interesting. So if you were to think of a song that describes TechTainment,
oh my gosh,
what would it be?
I'm just thinking of, this is not the right, but Leonard Cohen's The Future. But that's a dystopian thing, but I am thinking it is the future. That's what I'm saying. We are looking at, if you listen to Leonard Cohen's lyrics, probably not appropriate for this podcast, but again, we are moving forward. That's where we're going.
Yeah, that's what I've.
But now I'm thinking of, we built a city because that's what it is. We are an organization.
We built the city. You could have said we are the world. That would also have been like
that would be really
much.
dating. Yeah.
I know, seriously. Okay, what makes TechTainment gutsy? How is TechTainment gutsy?
I think because we have the vision and we move forward and say, we are going to do this. Again, this is actually the first year we planned a little earlier because what we realize is you really need to get out. You need to go early. You need to get it out there. I persevere, right? I think many other people after 11 years would have said, nope, that makes it gutsy.
Yeah, sure does.
And you have to go in and you say, okay, this didn't work. How do we do this, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we got through COVID for 2 years, that makes us gutsy, right? We said, we're going to do this, right?
Yeah.
We actually, what was great about COVID, sorry, that sounds weird.
No, that's
what was
okay.
great about
I know. There are some good sides
of that was that we actually had people from New York that were attending, people from Europe. And in fact, again, I tried to do a social component. We were doing like games or something because I wanted people still to interact.
Yeah, of course. I actually love that. There are conferences that have a live streaming component, so that may also be.
We may be able to do that. It just depends on technology.
Right.
So I don't want to promise. That's kind of,
but that could be a future.
Right. We have all these great goals. It's just a matter, can the technology do it?
Yeah, and then also how much does it cost? And,
Right.
As a nonprofit, you always have to think of those things. So what is something that outsiders or maybe even a few insiders don't know about TechTainment?
Well, it's October. They don't know. October. It's really about, I don't know when you're hearing this podcast, but it's October 16th on Thursday. So it's coming up really quickly.
Yeah.
And in addition, I'm going to make a plug that we have discounted tickets that end on October 1st. So the time to purchase tickets is now,
Yes.
right? Because again, we do have limited space and we are pushing to get people to come. And hopefully from this podcast, we'll get word out there. We are doing everything we can. What else don't they know? I think it's something that anyone attending loved attending. It was really a great, something that they were surprising. Because again, a lot of attorneys go to many legal conferences and you're like, okay, it was nice. I got to see some colleagues. I got to hear some speakers. The food was good.
Yeah.
But this is something that is different. It's unique. Mm-hmm. This is something that is for the attorneys, everyone else in the Los Angeles area, technology, entertainment. It is for you. It is a conference you don't even know it's for you. You should attend.
Right. Right. There is a piece of it that will be for you. And I got to
Right.
go for some of it last year because I teach.
Great.
And I will go this year again. And I found it to be enlightening and interesting and challenging in good ways in areas I hadn't thought of. Then a year passes and AI is even more of an issue in the educational system at the university level. So, yeah.
And what I was going to say now is they're going to be, I don't know if you remember the old books, The Choose Your Own Adventure, because we have two tracks, no two people will likely experience the same conference, which I find phenomenal. It's like amazing.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be like, well, I went to this conference. Well, I didn't go to that. I want to hear about this.
Right.
So it's going to be like everyone's going to have their own unique experience, which I
Right.
think is going to be really cool. I love doing that. Like I love that we're trying to grow it. We're trying to build it.
Yeah. Well, and it's based on your interests, your
Right.
professional interests. So I
Right.
think that's really important. So if you could get one celebrity or influencer to endorse or talk about TechTainment, who might that be?
Oh, Douglas Murray, because I think he's one of the best. So
Yeah.
no, he's just really smart. He actually, a book I had read that he just was like, he's very much into trends. And he
Yes.
talks about,
Right.
you just look at graphs and say, what did those mean? And that's what I also try to do. You try to say, especially with news now, you're looking at news.
Right.
What does these trends mean, right? What's going on right now that is going to affect us? I actually saw a similar thing. I saw this great, my daughter's a senior, and I went to the guidance counselor, and I had seen this tweet, and it shows that the demographics for college students, I mean, over 18, is going from like 900,000 to 800,000 in the next 4 years. I mean, I have an
Wow.
eighth grader. So I go,
Yeah.
what do those trends mean? So meaning that like after 2010, when there was a economic downturn, it means there's less people being born.
Right.
So what do all these things mean? What do these trends mean? What does it mean, right? That there'll be less people. What does it mean again? We should analyze like there are less foreign students coming. What does it mean?
Right.
All these other effects. How does that
Right.
affect technology? What does it mean right now that our students are being trained on AI, right?
Right. It's a really good question.
What does it mean when people don't know how to write letters anymore? I don't know
Yeah.
about that, but
I
so
had that same feeling you did. It's interesting you brought up letter writing because I noticed from my oldest to my youngest, and they are 7.5 years apart. So there was such a difference in curriculum from the youngest to the oldest, right? And my oldest learned how to write cursive, and my youngest didn't.
right.
It was really interesting and disturbing because I think that is a different skill in your brain.
What is it going to mean when there'll be electronic vehicles and people won't know how to drive?
Oh,
That's a possibility.
Right.
What will it mean for LA?
Right.
What will it mean for
Right.
LA, right? 'Cause
Right.
we may not have the car you have right now, maybe the
Right.
last car you have. I
Right.
don't know.
Right. Okay, so you probably remember your childhood phone number. I certainly know my cell
yes,
phone,
wait,
right?
yeah,
no,
I think so.
I'm not going to ask you, but you do.
No.
If you asked me, and I have 4 kids, if you ask me their
You don't
cell
know it.
phone numbers, I do know my daughter's
Okay.
because I had to because she was, she's
Right.
35. She didn't get a cell phone until
Right.
much later. But honestly, I go down my phone, click their name, and call them. So I don't even know their phone numbers. It's kind of sad, right?
But we do know where our children are at all times because they're
you
all
can
that.
Right? Are they?
It is again.
You get Mark. You get to the age where they don't allow you to follow them. Mine are all adults.
Yeah, I know
but
that.
I let them follow me because I want
Okay.
them to know where I am. in
Yeah,
case
no, it is
something
amazing. And it actually, the thought is how did we ever make any plans whatsoever?
Right,
Ever.
right,
How did we all
ever,
go to them? I mean, I
ever.
don't
How
know.
did we show up at the same
We
place?
just all showed up.
I love it. Okay, so Mark, one last time, how do people get to TechTainment? How do they buy tickets? And I encourage everyone to go. So you're on. Give us that.
Well, the first is I would assume that there's going to be a link from here.
Yes.
It would be www.laipla.net/TechTainment, which is TechTainment, or just Google TechTainment
TechTainment.
2025. That's
Right,
the
it's very
fastest way.
easy to find.
Very easy to say. It's October 16th.
Yeah.
There's discounted tickets to October 1st. After that, it
Goes up.
raises up. So the best time to buy is now.
Today.
If you have a time machine, go back in time and buy 2 weeks ago. It'll be a little cheaper.
I love it. Okay, Mark, I just want to thank you for this.
I want to thank you. This was
Energizing.
phenomenal. This was so much fun.
Wasn't it fun?
This was great. Yeah.
It was great.
You should do this for professionally.
If someone paid me, I would. I do. I do it as a volunteer, but I do it because people like you are in my wheelhouse. You get to be part of the Small and Gutsy family. I hope not for long, because I hope you get really big. And I love it because I meet people who are full of wonderful ideas. They have passion, they have integrity, and they are the good actors in the world. You are a good actor along with your cohort in the world, and I really celebrate that. So thank you.
And I was going to say, the best reason to go to TechTainment this year is to meet Laura, because she will be there. So
I will be there.
How else were you able to interact with her?
Right, exactly. I love it.
And we need to speak to Conrad about getting you for next year on a panel. So we got to do that.
So sweet. I don't know what I talk about, but maybe podcasting. So that's what I know.
We'll figure it out.
So, Mark, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please go to smallandgutsy.org to check out all of our episodes. And if you're so inclined, please purchase some Small and Gutsy merchandise, consider sponsoring an episode, or making a donation. Both are tax deductible and help keep us going and spotlighting these great organizations. The opinions and viewpoints expressed by our guests are independent and don't reflect the position or views of Small and Gutsy. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group, the donors, the sponsors, and my incredible board of directors, Brianna Carmichael, John Gatto, Lucy Mello, Ari McCoy, Melissa Greitz, and Serena Rajabian, who believed in me in this project enough so to sign on to support this effort, and all the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. And thank you for listening. Together, we are spreading social impact, and you can help us. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to email me the name of any organization you feel would benefit from being interviewed. From small and gutsy to big with impact. I'm Dr. Laura Shirk-Witkoff, and thanks for listening.